here in the United States, there's this big push, separation of church and state, and this very explicit agenda to take God, and it's not even anymore a specific religion. It's gone broader now to completely take God out of our culture, out of our country. So it made me think when you mentioned to make it unthinkable, I can't see how it could be unthinkable if you don't have God and whatever religion, and that crosses all the boundaries, all the borders and all the boundaries that we tend to set up culturally. So how would you say when somebody approaches you about, religion has no place in politics, or you're just a religious zealot? In other words, there is always that argument, from people who are for choice about keeping religion out, and that it's something that has nothing to do with religion. Can you kind of comment on that? Because religion transcends internationally, again, regardless of the culture or the specific faith. It is something that is universally practiced in our world.
Yeah, I think this comment that we hear often that abortion is a religious issue is simply a way to try and shut us up because we've got the truth and they don't want to hear it. My mind is going blank.
Can I say something to you? Hi, sorry, I have no qualifications, but I'm from Sac State, and we have a pro-life group there called Students for Life, and that's exactly what the Students for Choice told me. They had a table out, and I just said, oh, I want to talk to them. So I went to go talk to them. I told them who I was. I didn't deceive them and say, oh yeah, I'm pro-choice, and try and trap them or anything. But anyways, the cool thing is, they were saying the same thing to me. They were saying exactly what you were saying. They were saying, well, we just don't want your religion to have anything to do with this issue. You shouldn't push your religion on anybody. And I said, that's exactly true. Everybody has dignity. We should respect them and their beliefs, and nobody should push religion on anyone. But that doesn't mean that you can take the life away from an innocent person. And that's absolutely, totally has nothing to do with religion. It can be completely science and logic-based, which is, this is a human person and they have dignity under the law, under constitutional law. In this country, you have the right to life under due process, and they cannot take that away from you unless you are a criminal and you have the due process and all the laws. Then you can have your right taken away in this country. But for an innocent person, even if that person is ugly, if that person seems inconvenient, if that person is mooching your money from you, you cannot just kill a person. And that has nothing to do with my religion. That has nothing to do with your religion. It's life and death, and that has everything to do with the law.
Hopefully we can get through them.
Hi, my name is Susan Reedley. I'm the editor for HonestGirlScouts.com. I would like your advice on those of us who belong to organizations that have worldwide ties, such as the Girl Scouts of the United States of America. We are part of the World Association of Girl Guides and Girl Scouts, yet we have very strong ties with International Planned Parenthood Federation. I would like to know your advice on those American Girl Scouts here and throughout the United States who are pro-life, would like to address this issue. I know through my experience in being the editor of the website that a lot of people criticize those of us who are still currently Girl Scouts for staying within the organization when we are knowingly funding through our membership and cookie sales money, the agenda of ultra-radical feminists and their anti-population agenda. But yet, at the same time, I feel that it might be better to approach it from fighting within. So I would like to know your experience and your advice on how to deal with this.
I've actually been following that case with a lot of interest because, well, first of all, because it's an international issue, right? So you have a very American organization that's wonderful, that's all of a sudden found itself in bed with International Planned Parenthood. The first thing I always say is don't leave. I say that because, and this is obviously me speaking, right? I say that because I don't believe that that's the solution or the answer to the problem. I thoroughly believe that we need to stay within the culture, not go away from it and create our own ghettos in which we're fine by ourselves but not engaged with culture. I think that the Girl Scouts represent something really beautiful that the Americans have been able to show the world and also encourage the world to join and to be a part of. And I think it's done great things for my sister and for a lot of women. And I would also keep in mind that International Planned Parenthood isn't the Girl Scouts, right? You're the Girl Scouts. So what you're doing with your girls or with the people in your neighborhood and the positive impact you're having there is what is making the big difference and is what they're going to see. That doesn't mean you're not quiet, right? That you stay quiet, but you need to speak up.
However, what do we do when we see councils across the nation openly supporting Planned Parenthood agendas such as the Real Life, Real Talk, their sex education, explicit sex education that promotes abortion as a solution? What do we do when we see that happening within our own country and know that our money is going towards
Right,
it?
I would speak up like you're doing right now and like a lot of the Girl Scouts are already doing. I don't believe, I mean, you can leave and maybe that's one form of protest, but it seems to me that there's something beautiful at the heart of Girl Scouts, and that's what you want to hold on to and show that that's what Girl Scouts really is, and that is not coherent with the message of Planned Parenthood. And there's no way of showing that without staying involved, I think, personally.
All right, I'm just really conscious of time, and there's two guys waiting, so are we going to get to this, so we'll have just very quickly. Thanks, Andy.
Just very, very quickly, you guys are obviously going to be the most effective voice against Planned Parenthood infiltrating Girl Scouts because you're inside, and no one can do a better job than you, the girls that you work with. So just keep it up.
I'm Josh Evans. Just to touch on the question 2 questions ago about religion and pro-life, I have to say this. Life is a life and it's a human person because of biology, but life is only precious because we are crafted by God and because God loved us so much that He sent Jesus to die for us, to rekindle and have fellowship with us. If we take Jesus out of pro-life, we've lost the power of our message. So very quickly, my question was, on an international scale, we're doing a lot to expose Planned Parenthood, to expose those who purport abortion across the world. But on more sort of a pro-family standpoint, what are we doing to, because a lot of questions that you'll get from pro-choicers is, well, if you get rid of abortion, what are you doing for the kids that are being born? They're going into the foster system and all this different. What are we doing on an international scale to make sure that once children are born, that we're caring for them and tending to their needs so that they're not being entered into a broken system and giving the pro-choicers that room to make those claims against us? And secondly, what are we doing as well to, aside from contraception and abortion, discourage teen pregnancy, discourage sexual promiscuity in the youth on an international scale?
I have a friend back in New Zealand, Rachel Thompson. She is 18 or something. She is a strong pro-lifer, and then in a few months' time, she's going to be travelling to South Africa to volunteer, I think 2 months of her time, working in an orphanage for babies that have just been abandoned by their parents because they're unwanted or they're ugly. Yeah. So it's, I mean, and the claim, leveled at us, that we have, oh man, my mind's going blank. Okay, sorry. What are you doing about those babies once they're born? I mean, that's no reason for us to shut up because it's still true what we're saying. So.
I'll just say one thing about that. It doesn't, in no other cause or in no other movements around the world do people criticize people for adopting one issue. We're allowed to deal with one issue. We don't ask the people who are helping kids in Africa, what are they doing for the kids in China? So it's our entitlement to pick an issue that we feel is the most important one and work on that. And our most important issue is saving unborn babies from abortion. And we're perfectly entitled to just focus on that issue. God bless all of the people who have extra time and extra energy and extra resources to move out of that scope. But we are entitled to focus on the single issue that we feel is the most important. And we would never hear people criticize people for, you know, saving the whales and not saving, you know, the orangutans. So we're entitled to do it, I think.
Yeah, but you know, what makes our one even more urgent is that there's not like an active lobby trying to legalise enforced poverty. Do you know what I mean? So because there's like a very powerful lobby there trying to legalise abortion like all over the world, and you know, encourage it and have more of it. That is not happening with any of these other issues, like poverty or you know, children dying or you know, children being born with AIDS. No one is actively trying to encourage this. You only see that with abortion.
Last question.
Just very, very quickly. It is an extremely powerful statement when pro-lifers do fight against other injustices on the side. It's a very good thing to be able to say.
If it's okay, I wanted to comment on that question. And I don't know about internationally, but I know that here in the United States, that almost anywhere that there is an abortion clinic, there is usually a CPC, a pregnancy center, somewhere in that area that does help the women. And so I think if we're ever out there and we're talking on the sidewalk or we're doing praying or sidewalk counseling or anything like that, having that information available immediately to give to somebody who needs help, because that's how we are helping them. So I think talking to the other side and saying, here is what we do. And there pretty much always is a pregnancy center that is going to help them with just about anything they need. And I've been involved with 3 or 4 pregnancy centers, and there is that entire chain of assistance from the whole pregnancy all the way up until the children are 1, 2, or 3 years old. And I'm talking housing, schooling, getting them signed up for WIC, getting them signed up for Social Security, whatever they need. And so that does exist here. So, and having that information available to hand to a woman. I know people who've even driven them from the abortion clinic over to get an ultrasound at wherever is the closest place that they can do that. So we do that. My question, I'll try to make it short, and maybe the answer has been there and I have missed it, and to me it really does seem like it is the youth that is going to change abortion in America. And I've been involved with pro-life for about 20 years on an adult level, and watching what has been done in Ireland literally dumbfounded me. I was breathless watching youth defense on that screen, and to me it seems like our kind of sister organization would be Survivors. And what I'm wanting to know is how much of a likeness is there between what Survivors does and what Youth Defense does, because you guys, in a very seemingly short period of time, were able to rally youth to a level of activation and passion that to me is unbelievable. And so that's I think what we need to do here in America. And you know, I think that's the forum, is having, you guys covered everything from A to Z. Education, you were out there in front of the clinics. I mean, everything, you were doing everything. And you had the manpower to do it.
They have good beer in Ireland.
Sorry, what's your question? How do we do it? What are the similarities between Youth Defense and Survivors?
How can that be adopted here? And it sounds like it's very much a family thing. I was reading your bio, and it sounds like your 2 sisters were involved in organizing and getting Youth Defense started, and here you are, and Owen. So obviously a family passion, but how, and then how can we adopt that?
Yeah.
And is there anybody from Youth Defense working anywhere here with any of our youth to train? Because I know you're doing it in other places now. You were talking about Brussels. And so is there anything like that going on here?
Okay,
and if not,
apparently I have to answer this really quickly. Kate has just moved. She works in her office. She just moved to Michigan. We're able to do it because we're a small country. So we can do, we're able to do it, and we kind of have to do it. So that's why we can touch so much stuff. Like, you would have to be a very, very large organisation to try and do that on the scale of America, if you get me. How do you do it? I think like there are organisations in America who are doing every aspect of our work, but just because you're on such a larger playing field, you have to split that up into different organisations. That answer it?
Thanks for all the speakers, Tim, Andy, and Ida.